So we were talking about this comedian who did a bunch of approved racist jokes at the Trump Bring Back, Make America Bund Again rally in Madison Square Garden in New York. And the resonance of these jokes, and you know, I've had like multiple conversations already, like, you know, everybody knows this about Trump. What's this big deal here? And I really do think that because it wasn't Trump, because it's an indication that like when this guy talks, it's not just, he's creating a drone army of people like this who think and understand, like, I don't think like, you know, there aren't people crying because he said, you know, Jews like money and Palestinians throw rocks and Latinos just, you know, have children like rabbits, and that Puerto Rico is an island of junk. That's not the issue. The scary part is they think this is okay and effective in the perhaps penultimate rally of the campaign. They think that like it's everybody's in on the joke when you tell this joke with 13,000 people. And let's be clear, it didn't come after like, hey, we got, you know, mayo sandwiches for all the white people here, or whatever it is, or, what's some QAnon joke. No, it was just like, we're just ticking off for absolutely total non sequiturs, these, you know, racist jokes. And which incidentally, also, they weren't that funny. But aside from that fact, the fallout has been huge. And I mean, look at this. Like, I only saw this because Celtics really, I don't want to say they trounced the Bucks last night, but they sort of did. Like, it was a game about, you know, halfway, 3/4 of the way through. But they, you know, the announcers were saying like the Celtics really can't get into a rhythm, and they're up by 4 at that point. And then they just sort of walked away with it. But here is Doc Rivers, and even Doc Rivers, like, he doesn't want to be mentioning this, but it's just, this is how big of a deal it is.
I didn't see the ad. I'm wondering if you could relay that message and why you chose to participate.
You want me to do a PSA right now?
Maybe an abbreviated version, yeah.
No, it's just, it was really about voting. You know, obviously I'm biased, and I'm not gonna do a pop here today. He was right, everything that he said. You know, I just think this election is really important. I mean,
when he says do a pop, he's referring to Greg Popovich, who is one of the most outspoken, like, anti-Trump and anti-right-wing progressive
and did
coaches.
a big rant really recently.
Yeah.
And the initial question is about Rivers appearing in a video with Doug Emhoff on social media, so it sort of filters into the discussion.
And obviously this is the Bucks, so Wisconsin, big swing state.
It was really about voting. You know, obviously I'm biased, and I'm not gonna do a pop here today. He was right, everything that he said. You know, I just think this election is really important. I mean, if you saw Madison Square Garden, I mean, come on, like, right? So to me, it's so important to vote. I'm going to keep it as close to that as possible, but my gosh, you know, and when I tell people the guy was so great, and why did 80 million people vote against him, you know, in the last time he ran, you know, so I don't know, I don't get it, I don't, but we got to do something about that. Was atrocious what we saw. If you're a black man or a woman or brown, Latino, or Puerto Rican, or they hit everybody, you know, and it was awful.
Hey, Doc,
Now, when he says they hit everybody, let me just correct Doc Rivers there. Mm-hmm. They didn't hit Christians. They didn't hit white people. They didn't hit really any of the powerful. I mean, he did do a line of like, he took a bullet for all of us. And then he said, what everybody says, like, some dad getting off where's my shoes? I mean, they didn't do everybody. That's the thing is he claimed on Twitter, pop up his tweet, Hitchfield or whatever the guy's name is, Heathcliff. These people have no sense of humor. What a vice president. I made fun of everyone. Watch the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon. All right. Now, on Twitter, sure. Okay. Time to change your In fact, going after Tim Walz, okay. Yeah. Like, I get it. Why wouldn't you do all the jokes about Tim Walz is, walking tampon? Or, I mean, it's perfectly easy to imagine a set where he goes, shifty shift is, whatever it is, or, Nancy Pelosi, her skin's so tight, right. I mean, he could have done all that. There was a whole spectrum with that 11 and a half minutes he had. Probably one of the, actually the biggest crowds that he'll ever had. I mean, he's been at Madison Square Garden multiple times, but this is, again, the final closing rally of Trump in the Madison Square Garden, just like the Bund rally with all the Nazis, the last America First rally. So he's out there. They have hired him. They have signed off on his jokes. And instead of being jokes about AOC, instead of there being jokes about Pelosi or Harris or Biden or whomever, it's just Latinos, black people, Jews, and Palestinians. That's the choice of his targets. It doesn't even matter what the jokes are. And the idea that it's just jokes, well, dude, this is also a political campaign. You're in a political rally. This isn't a comedy venue. You want to tell the jokes. The content's not random. You're not pulling, just like random jokes out of a joke book. You're tailoring your jokes to the audience.
Right.
And the audience wants to hear about how Latinos are this way and Puerto Rico is dirt and black guys like watermelon and Jews like money. Palestinians
and
throw
Latinos
rocks.
like making babies. They don't pull out. I mean, it was gross and crude on top of being extremely racist. But like even in his response there, the way he makes fun of Tim Walz is instructive. He doesn't make fun of him for any of the characteristics that he ascribed to minority groups. What does he do? He implies that he's a woman on a period.
Oh, well, that whole tampon thing.
I know what it
their
is.
Long-term thing. Of course, all their jokes are
conspiracy theory that he's putting tampons in all the men's or the boys' rooms in Minnesota. But you even see underlying that right-wing attack that he's invoking that we'd heard before
100%.
is that he's gay. I mean, Tucker Carlson was saying that the other day. Doesn't he seem gay? Or he's like a woman, right? And this was the same guy, Hinchcliffe, that wanted to call Kamala Harris the C word, and it was taken out by the campaign because they're worried about suburban women. That's the only reason they took it out. They would have agreed with it if they didn't think that there was electoral liability. And all these white supremacists that were excited that they got to invoke the rally, the Nazi rally at MSG from 85 years ago, they are so freaking racist that came first. The Puerto Rico trash joke, they vetted that. And they didn't even think like, okay, maybe this might have electoral consequences for us. Like Rick Scott's freaking out in Florida because there's over 1 million people of Puerto Rican descent in Florida.
But that's exactly the point, is that other people, normal people, see this and realize these guys don't perceive this as a liability.
Yes.
They see this as an asset. Putting down groups that are not white people is an asset to their political aspirations. Now, they may be wrong, and I suspect that they are because there's just not enough of them. But that's what's freaking people out about this.
It indicates sincerity.
100%.
I think that's what it is, right? Like, you can write off the media is being hysterical about Donald Trump. But when you have a person saying to this massive crowd at this iconic arena, all of this rank racism with less than 2 weeks before the election, the fact that people are now, like, we talk about how the low and mid propensity voters don't really pay attention until the final 2 weeks of the election or whatever, final 3 weeks. This is what they're hearing. It's also amplified because there is heightened attention at this point, which is why normal campaigns that aren't run by Stephen Miller and freaking Nazis would be like, okay, time to moderate the fact that we are viewed as too extreme. But they don't see it like that because they see this MAGA movement as the white nationalist reclamation of the United States from these hordes of migrants and gay people and trans people and all that kind of stuff. And that is, to your point, Sam, that's what is coming across with these comments and why it's traveling.
I remember the fallout of the Unite the Right rally and the amount of anger at this exact same sort of thing. Because I don't put Hinchcliffe, and I know some people are going to say, well, kill Tony. I don't care. You need to find better media, in my opinion. But Hinchcliffe is just like one of those Unite the Right things. And it's interesting to see the various reaction to even people who are like, I cannot vote for Kamala, given all we know, to like, well, Jesus. Like,
But these guys have to lose.
Yeah.
They have to lose.
And it's funny him saying, like, it's wild to me that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule, like, because you lobbed one over the plate, buddy. Like you gave them raw material to use, and so they used it. Like, yeah, it's wild to me too that you served one up like that.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.